It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday, only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
That's right. It's time for Fridays with AI. And every Friday we spend with AI, ask them to rewrite Philly sports history through a different lens. And today, in honor of the eve of the NBA draft lottery, I wanted to know what would have happened if Sam Hinkie had been able to not been forced to resign and was able to see out the process. As you know, he resigned, but kind of pressure from the NBA when the Colangelos came in, and he cited in his resignation letter that he felt he didn't have the control that he wanted to be able to fully do the job. The NBA was upset that the Sixers were openly and blatantly tanking. But what if Sam Hinkie had stayed and had been able to see through the process? Would it have been different? Well, we asked AI, and here's what AI had to say. They said, in this alternate reality, Josh Harris and comes out and basically publicly supports Hinkie and convinces Adam Silver to say, hey, what we're doing is trying to improve our team, and we're within the rules. It complies with everything, and the Colangelos don't necessarily come in and interfere. So Sam Hinkie's allowed to do what he does. So we pick up with the 2016 draft. Sixers have the first pick. Simmons is the pick. It was kind of one of those things, despite the red flags, everybody knew Ben Simmons was going to be the number one pick. So I'm okay with that. But the key here is Sam Hinkie, as he was known to do, kind of like Howie Roseman, was wheeling and dealing, made some trades, gets them 2 picks in the 2018 draft. He got involved with the D'Angelo Russell deal that sent him to the Lakers. And it was like and Ben Simmons was a Hinkie type pick anyway. He was going to be hurt for his first year, played right into what his view and vision was for tanking and all of that. They pulled the number 3 pick in the 2017 draft just like they did because he had all that draft capital. He was able to go. And without the Colangelos pulling the shady deal with the Celtics and Danny Ainge, Tatum actually falls to the Sixers, and the Sixers end up with Jason Tatum, probably the way it should have been. And so here's your core 3 of Jason Tatum, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. Then the fun starts. And this is where we never got to see what Sam Hinkie's actual plan was. But in this AI alternate reality, he ends up trading Dario Saric and Robert Covington and a protected future number 1 pick to the San Antonio Spurs for Kawhi Leonard. They have the money to sign him to a long-term deal. So Kawhi comes to a team with a lot of young talent, becomes the kind of go-to guy on it, and basically is happy because the Sixers, due to Sam Hinkie, have the money to actually pay him. So now your starting 4 is Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Ben Simmons, and Kawhi Leonard. Not too shabby at all. And then in 2019, it's time to go after free agents. They bring in guys like Joe Harris and PJ Tucker. And what that does is allows them to have those role player guys to go with the big 4. Obviously, they're able to re-sign and keep Kawhi Leonard because of all the cap space they have. They make a surprising run in 2020 to the Eastern Conference Final down in the bubble before losing to the Miami Heat. But then 21-22 is when it all comes together. The Kawhi Leonard-led Sixers are able to win the NBA championship. Brett Brown remains the coach this entire time. Sam Hinkie changes the way the NBA operates, forces them to put in certain rules to make it not as obvious and blatant. You have to hit certain criteria if you're quote-unquote tanking. But I think this isn't that far-fetched. I mean, maybe because at the time you didn't know what Joel was going to be. But I think what this does for Ben Simmons is allows him to flourish as sort of that point guard coming down and able to facilitate and let his skill set do what he's able to do. Because when in our reality, he was the number 2 option. Ben Simmons just didn't have the mental makeup or the mental capacity to be the number 2 option, as we saw. But I think this allows him to flourish. It allows the pressure to be off Joe. Joe probably stays healthy. But as we'll see, eventually after that 21-22 championship, it got too expensive to keep everybody. I mean, Tatum was coming into his own as a star. Joe was a star. Kawhi was getting older. Ben really probably wouldn't have gotten all the max money he got, but he turned into a solid player, so it was hard to keep them together. However, Sixers do get a championship with Sam Hinkie and the process in this alternate reality, and it changes the way things were done. And AI did say that maybe they don't have that big 4, but Kawhi really would have been the focal piece of that team. Maybe they end up trading Tatum. Maybe they end up trading Joel. There was a lot of scenarios where it could have gone either way. But for that 21-22 season, it was magical. Sixers roll to the NBA championship. And again, changes the way things are done in the NBA. But from a Philadelphia perspective, it changes the whole narrative of the Sixers. Obviously, they become very popular in the way that like the Phillies are. Going down to the Wells Fargo Center is a must-see. Everybody wants to get tickets. It's a hard ticket to get. And it allows the city, it allows the teams to invest in the South Philly complex. They add the shopping. They put money into revamping the Wells Fargo Center. They want to kind of make that the focal point instead of trying to go downtown and things like that. But all the shopping, the hotels, and the entertainment mecca of Philadelphia becomes the South Philly complex, all because Sam Hinkie was allowed to see the process through. What do you think? A little far-fetched there? I mean, in reality, I don't know. I don't think it sounds that crazy. But let me know your thoughts on AI if Sam Hinkie had stayed and been able to see the process out.